a lot of entrepreneurs, they have this plan and they feel like they have to stick to it because that's what they shared on social media. That's what they said they would do in the first place. Like changing plans and adjusting based on the circumstances and the new knowledge we have is one of the most important thing I learned. Like this ability to, adapt and adjust the action based on what's happening rather than, based on what we said a few months before.
In this podcast, I focus mainly on interviewing inspirational and insightful entrepreneurs, business people, creatives, and your story is one that has truly stood out to me. And so I really wanted to have a chat with you for quite some time now. You're the founder and CEO of Reconnect, a luxury retreat developed on a private island in Indonesia called Buka Buka, in an effort for people to reconnect with nature and, as a result, themselves, and get away from their busy and stressful lifestyles. And you've also founded Hustlers Villa, which connects entrepreneurs and digital nomads in an effort to create a community of people that want to actively collaborate, live on their own terms, and give back to the world. And if that's not enough, you've also cycled around the world before moving to Bali, and built a very successful e-commerce business in which you've managed to go from zero to almost $1 million in sales in just under a year. All of this is incredibly impressive at the age of 27 now, or right?
I'm gonna turn 28 in I don't know, like 10 days.
10 days. It's ridiculous what you've managed to achieve. So, but my first question probably would be, where did that drive come from to create? Did you always feel that you've had these entrepreneurial tendencies?
Right. So, well, before answering, let me thank you for having me in the podcast. I'm happy to be here, Jonas. When it comes to entrepreneurship, I think I had this since I'm like at university. So, right, I studied psychology. After studying medicine for a bit and it wasn't for me, went to psychology, and then the pace was, way slower than in medicine. And I just happened to be bored and, wanted to find ways, to use my time, in nice ways. And I just randomly happened to, be a copywriting freelancer. That's the first things I did, on my own, working online. Basically on my laptop from my bed. Started with that. I was 18 or 19 years old. That was the first thing I did that looked like entrepreneurship.
Yeah. Did you understand that that's entrepreneurship at that point? Did you understand what's the tendency?
It was at this time it was just me trying to just make some cash online, and I liked the idea that I was making more money than some of my teachers at university,
Yeah. Was that the tipping point for you then? When you realized, oh, I actually can do this on my own. I don't need to work for anybody. And
Yeah. I mean, it was a first step. It wasn't like the full realization, but it was the first step. I mean, I didn't have the confidence of me being able to replicate that, to do it again. I didn't really know. I was just enjoying it, and I was happy I was given the chance to do that. And then, like the year after that, I moved forward. I still did that, and I started to have my own event organization company. So I was organizing basically parties for students in a way that wasn't done before. So I was connecting the universities and business schools and everything with the nightclubs and bars, and we pre-negotiated everything for them. So it was a no-brainer for them to organize all their events, and we would get paid. It was free for them, and we would get paid by the bars and the nightclubs back then, to bring people there. And that worked like very well. We were doing like two to three events per week at some point.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that was really cool. That was really, really cool. And so, I mean, that one was like another step, it was like, oh, I can actually, organize things and have things in my mind and making them happen in the real world. And that was another very, very strong step for me, in the realization that I can do things on my own and make money for doing that.
Yeah. So was it a case of like your appetite just keeps growing because you keep seeing that you can do more and more and more and achieve greater things as a result?
Um, yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, none of those was like very fulfilling businesses.
Yeah.
It was fine. I learned a lot by doing so. That's where I learned all of my basics, entrepreneurship wise. Um, but after that came the point when I decided to travel and travel by bicycle.
Mm.
Um, which was about, it was called startup cycling. So I was meeting startup CEOs on the way, learning from them and writing about the story. However, I wasn't really like building a business by doing so. I was kind of like surviving. I was sleeping in a tent or hammock, and
Yeah.
I would open my laptop and make like a few websites to get some cash and keep going on. Um,
Yeah.
Good thing was, like, I wasn't spending money. I mean, like, traveling was by bicycle. I was sleeping in my
Yeah.
tent, so I would spend money for food and like stuff like that. So I was living with it was €7 per day, something like that.
Mm.
So that was fairly cheap, and I just needed to make a few landing pages or websites or stuff like that to get going and fund
Yeah, yeah.
my own travels.
So through this trip, you said you've met like hundreds of CEOs and founders and business people, right? Was there
100, yeah. Mm-mm. Yeah.
was there like some piece of advice or something like that that really stuck with you from meeting those people?
Um, Actually, the main thing that came from meeting these people was more something about me than something that they said. It was
Okay.
that, so at this time, I realized that, so I had this project, right? It was cycling and meeting startup CEOs. And I mean, I learned a lot of things from them because I learned from their personal stories, where they came from, how they had these ideas and everything. And I mean, you see a lot of different cases and ways people can be, successful at doing their business. There is not like one and only one way. And at some point, I realized that meeting Ducios was amazing. However, I wanted more to focus on the traveling part and being with myself and finding my own way rather than meeting with people constantly because I had to, because it was the project.
Yeah.
And I guess, like, the main thing that I learned was, like, it's fine to change plans. I know it's not
Right.
directly related to what they taught me, but it's like I changed plans constantly when I was doing this trip by bicycle. I was supposed to go to Asia after Europe, but actually I went to USA. I was supposed to go to San Francisco, but then I went to New York, and I
Yeah.
changed plans constantly because I felt like that was the right thing to do for me at that time. Like when I arrived in Budapest and I was running out of money, and instead of just staying 3 to 5 days with a friend of mine, we decided to organize a startup house to rent the biggest flat we found in Budapest and to be with 17 entrepreneurs for a month. And
Yeah.
that actually helped me fund my flight ticket to USA. And
Nice.
that was another example of me changing plans. And that's the main thing I learned. That is, I mean, that's an entrepreneur thing. Like, a lot of entrepreneurs, they have this plan and they feel like they have to stick to it because that's what they shared on social media. That's what they said
Yeah.
they would do in the first place. Like, changing plans and adjusting based on the circumstances and the new knowledge we have is one of the most important thing I learned. Like, this ability to adapt and adjust the action based on what's happening rather than based on what we said a few months before.
Yeah. It's quite hard to sort of it's a funny thing you mentioned because through social media and everything, like we tend to, especially the younger generation, we tend to record everything, talk about everything, document the journey and everything like that. And obviously, if you, as you say, like change plans, it can be seen as, oh, he failed at this thing, and people
Yep.
tend to try to avoid that. Um, I think it takes some sort of a specific mindset to truly understand that you're an entrepreneur, right? And it feels like one of the things that is this kind of one, open-mindedness, and second is kind of don't not overthinking things. Am I being correct? Is that the main thing you would say in terms of mindset that entrepreneurs need to have?
Yeah, I think it's about resilience in some ways. Like as an entrepreneur, you're pushing things out there in the world, right? And you need to receive, the feedback you're getting from it, how your market is reacting, how your investors are reacting, how like how things going out, like cash flow wise. You need to be aware of all of these things around the business and around yourself, and to understand what is the best thing to do right now based on what you can observe after what you've done. So it takes quite some, resilience and, being able to accept what's actually happening rather than doing things because you said you would do them in the first place. Yeah.
Yeah. How much do you think the amount of hours that you put into doing something, right? There's this thing like I keep thinking about, the Tim Ferriss's 4-hour work week, and then Gary Vaynerchuk's preaching on hustling and 20 hours per day working and stuff like that. Did you notice yourself what works best for you? And do you agree with any of those kind of methodologies, I guess?
Yeah, I understand. I'd say, well, first it depends what type of business you're doing, right?
Yeah.
Like Gary Vee and Tim Ferriss are not doing the same things at all, and both of them are very successful in what they're doing. So I definitely think there's no one single way to do things. It's all about. It's all. I mean, in the end of the day, it's all about choosing your pains. That's a concept I really like. It's like Gary Vee actually chose this thing of like working, say, 20 hours a day or whatever amount of hours a day, because that is his things. That's what makes that is what feels right for him, in his business. And that's, he's in advertising, marketing, and like all of these things, documenting whatever he's doing. He's driven by that. But some of the people just thrive, by having what is called like these lifestyle businesses, right? They just make, the amount of money they decide to make, and they're just like working a few hours a day or a few days a week, and they're fine with that. For me personally, it also depends on what I'm building. I'm definitely not the type of person who's going to work 12 hours a day because I think it's very inefficient. I'd rather work 2 hours a day and being amazing at what I'm doing for 2 hours rather than 12 hours and being mediocre. And in the end of the day, the decisions I'm taking after, say, 6 hours are far less, accurate and on point than the decision I'm taking when I know I have 2 hours to work and I'm like very focused for 2 hours. Now, just an example, I'm not saying I'm working 2 hours. I'm working more than that. And some things that people consider as working, I consider them as just like, playing around with ideas.
Yeah, it's just part of your day. Yeah.
Yeah, it also depends what you put behind the word working, right? For me, it's like, I'm doing this because I love it. I don't need to make money from it for doing it. I would be fine without. I just like this idea of having something in my mind and making it happen in the world. Turns out that the best way to do that is to make it like around the business, right? And I like this idea of making a business, but from me personally, I don't have the desire to like make more money or having more cash or anything. As long as I have enough to live, whatever I'm making, I'm reinvesting it or saving it.
So, was that always the case? Because the thing is, like, I think it comes down to what your definition of success is. Like, are you successful if you're a multi-billionaire? Or are you successful because you created something that was in your head and you loved? Or maybe it's both. Like, did you feel like your definition of success changed? And if it did, what were those?
Oh, it definitely did. When I was started, like my definition of success was, I guess, to make a like couple thousand of euros a month, living life in my own term, being independent, not having a boss. That was like the ultimate goal for me. regardless if I was creating something meaningful in the world. Actually, that was like when I was 19, 20. Um, then I guess, yeah, it's, it started to change. I mean, actually changed a lot of time. Like success depends on like what you're facing, right? So when I arrived in Bali, and like 3 years ago, and I lost everything I had. I didn't have much cash, but I lost all of it from ATM scheming, and I ended up being like homeless without anything, no place to go, and I didn't know uh, how I would, even eat the next week. Then success at that time looked uh, like a way different thing than what it looks like right now. It looked like finding a way, whatever it is, so I could stay in Bali because that's what I wanted to do, and find a place to stay, having food, and managing to make enough money so I could keep living here. That's what it looks like 3 years ago. Now I'm building sustainable resort on an island. Success looks like being able to receive the first guest on the island and having them telling me they had an amazing time and lived like a meaningful experience. That's what success looks like for me right now. So I guess it really depends on what you're building, what are your expectations. Yeah, it really changes a lot. Mm-mm.
I've never really looked at it that way. That's very interesting because usually when you hear about people talking about success, they look sort of 10, 20, 30 years ahead. Like this is the perfect vision of what I want to be and what I want to do. Whereas what you're saying is that it's whatever at the moment, to make you happy at that point. And that's a very interesting take on it. So you said you were like homeless for a bit just as you came to Bali. Did that how was that before you did your e-commerce business or was that after?
Yeah. It was before. So, well, to be fair, I don't want to like use the word homeless in a bad way. I'm very mindful that some people doesn't have a choice and they don't have means to like I didn't sleep in the street. That's what I mean. But I was hosted for free by a Balinese family, and I managed to find a way for me to give them value and help them with their business, and they would give me a room for free and food for a month. Right. So that was the situation I was in. And during this month, when I was not helping them with their business, I would do everything I can, and I would take every single freelancing gig I could take, whether it was writing, making videos, making a website, everything I could take. Yeah. After that, at some point, I had a job in Bali. It was the first time in my life I had a job.
What was the job?
The title was like marketing advisor, but really I was just doing a lot of things. It was a marketing agency. Right. We were just, helping with writing content, processes, stuff like that. It was a great experience, but after a month, I couldn't just stay in an office anymore. Like just a month. It took a month.
So it took a month.
Only took a month, my first job. And then I left and, back to the struggle of, okay, how am I going to make money? Yeah. And then I just, tripled down my efforts in taking any freelancing gig, I could take so I could, get some cash and, stay in Bali for, a bit longer all the time. And that's when I heard of dropshipping and e-commerce. So there was like this like remote agency that were doing a lot of different type of website and stuff, and they had an e-com a Shopify store to do for clients. And I had no idea what was e-commerce. I mean, I know what it was, but I had no idea how to make a website or anything like that for like specifically for e-com. Yeah. And so, well, they told me it was like a 3,000 euros gig. It was Shopify, and I had no idea what was Shopify. And but because I really needed the money, I said that of course I could do it. Yeah. And I spent a few nights, like not like sleepless night, just learning about Shopify, how it works, how to create the store, like how like the whole thing is working. Watch videos on YouTube and everything, and that's when I heard of dropshipping. When I was doing those researches, and I guess it just stayed in my mind. Like turned out that I didn't get the deal, so the client just canceled. He didn't do the website. So, and because I learned all of this, I was like, well, this is not for nothing. So let's just see if I could do, drop shipping. So
Yeah.
that's what led me to drop shipping. Yeah.
So that's what led you to do the drop shipping. What were you selling? What was the product?
So in the beginning, so I actually partnered with a friend of mine. I didn't have money, like any money back then, so I couldn't invest anything at all. So I partnered with a friend of mine who also didn't know anything about e-commerce at that time. And well, we basically did all of the things that you want to avoid when you're doing drop shipping. Like all of the worst mistake you can possibly think about, we did them. Like we thought it would be a great idea to have as many products as possible because well, Amazon's doing it. It was like the dumbest idea ever. We thought it was a good idea to advertise our products in 100 countries instead of focusing on few markets. Anyway, all of the mistakes we did them, and in the end, like we got some success after it was like 2 months and a half with one product. It was this like a body shaper type of thing, something that you makes women look slimmer when they wear it. It's like a ridiculously like dumb product, but turned out like on the French markets, people would buy that for $20, and it would cost us like $3 to buy it from China. So that's how how we got started, and yeah, that's our first winning product.
So why did you decide to quit then? If you started getting the traction, you started getting the money, you actually started earning quite a bit of money, why did you decide to quit?
So, like, starting from there, like, from the day we managed to actually sell this product, we sold, I think, like 25,000 of them, something like that. And we got like a very quick growth. So, like, the first 2 months and a half, we lost money. Like the last half of the third month, I think we did 25K in sales. And then after that, for like 6 or 7 months in a row, it was like 100K, something like that, consistently. And then it went quickly, and it was a lot of money for us. Back then, well, my bank account was like minus 3,000. When we started.
Yeah.
So the first thing I did was like paying all of my debts and stuff. But then, so we got some traction. We got successful with that. We got some money. But then that's the thing with dropshipping. You constantly have to so you have two ways. The way I'm saying, you have two ways. First one is you keep looking for winning products, competing with every single person, going into the markets. And it was like growing like crazy back then. It was in 2017. And then you always have to try new products, try new ads, try new creatives, blah, blah, blah. It's like the whole process over and over again. And it's extremely boring and not fulfilling. Or you have to make a brand from the products you're already selling. And instead of trying to find new customers all the time, you can create a customer base, and then you sell multiple products to them and, under the brand that you're building. And like none of these ideas like were very appealing to me. So like, yeah, I mean, we had some conversations with my partner, back then, and he wanted to get out. I mean, he had a situation with his dad who was like had a cancer and stuff, and he wanted to spend time with his dad. And at the same time, numbers, started to get not that good, and like I guess like the whole thing, and like me ending up alone in the business, with the team of people we had, and like I lost like all the desire, I that was required to keep this business going, and I was like, I'm not gonna keep like selling body shapers to women for the rest of my life, of course.
Yeah. So it probably was the case that your main driver was money. You got the money, and then there was nothing after that.
This is exactly that. Yeah.
Yeah. So like the old tale of money doesn't bring happiness.
Yeah. I like having more money wasn't interesting for me anymore. Not that, I mean, we didn't make millions, right? But I had some, and it was the first time of my life I had some. And then I was like, I was thinking, what are like the smart, I mean, the things that I could do now with that money that feels, better to me. So,
Yeah.
and it wasn't like doing drop shipping anymore. So it was pretty much overnight. Like overnight, it was like, you know what, just, like, fuck that. I'm just closing the store. That's pretty
Mm.
much how it happened.
Right.
Yeah.
Like 80% of my YouTube ads at the moment are now people selling variety of courses on how to easily make money online through drop shipping and Shopify and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um,
Uh-uh.
it's not that easy, is it? Like, what would you advise people that actually want to get into drop shipping after seeing a YouTube ad or something? Because yours is a success story, right? You got the money, right? So
Yeah. Um, I think I would advise them to make sure why they want to do drop shipping in the first place. Um, like I've seen people, for example, who they would have their business and like there's not drop shipping. They would have their own business, and it's not like working amazing yet. So they would decide to start doing drop shipping, you know. So they would get some cash flow and then they could invest in their business. And I think, I mean, this, for example, is possibly a wrong reason why you would need to do dropshipping. People assume dropshipping is easy.
Mm.
It's just like, oh, I'm just gonna make some side money. I'm just gonna sell stuff from China online, and I'm gonna make like a few $1,000 profit a month. This is not how it works. Like when we were doing it, we were like full time doing this.
Yeah.
Uh, it was, I mean, it takes like a lot of time and a lot of energy to actually make some decent profit with dropshipping.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I guess the main advice would be just for people to ask themselves why they really do want to do dropshipping in the first place. That's the
Yeah.
first thing people should do.
and the competition is really high as well now. I mean, you said in 2017 you kept seeing grow a lot, and now
Yeah.
in 2019 with all these courses available and all this like romanticizing how easy it is, I think there's
Yeah.
even more
Yeah.
competition now, isn't it?
Yeah. Like, well, the thing with dropshipping is like it's pretty easy to understand. Like the barriers at the entry for dropshipping are non-existent. Like
Yeah.
anybody can subscribe to Shopify, make a Facebook ad account, and sell stuff on Shopify. And because anybody could do it, then the competition is really high, and
Yeah.
it makes. I mean, for me right now, it would make zero sense to do dropshipping again. I'm glad I did it. I'm
Mm.
happy with whatever I learned from it. I'm happy with the money I did with it. But if tomorrow I have no money whatsoever remaining, I would probably not do dropshipping. Like 100% sure, because the competition is going crazy. Facebook ads are getting like crazy expensive. And I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm saying
Mhm.
if someone wants to do that, I mean they better create their own brand, right, in the beginning,
Yeah.
and not trying to sell like this AliExpress shit and everything. Because like the
Mm.
barriers to entry are very, very, very low, right? Say if I compare that to creating Reconnect, this island in Sulawesi, then the barriers at the entry there are extremely high.
Yeah.
Like you need to speak Indonesian, so that's the first thing. So that's like
Yeah.
the first very, very limiting thing. Like 200 million people in the world speak Indonesian. We're 7 billions. So, you already filter out a lot of people. Then,
Yeah.
like, you need to be in Indonesia to understand how business works here. You need to have a foreign investment company. You need to be able to go there back and forth. Like, there's a lot of barriers that make it not impossible, but very hard for other people who'd like to, like create a business, say, on the same area, right? Which means it's also very, it's also riskier for me because
Mhm.
then, we need to attract people there. We need to be good with marketing and everything. And we take, like the risk is that nobody's going to show up. And on the other hand, when we manage to do that and to have people there, we're good to go for like 10 or 15 years. And the upside we get from that is insanely high, right?
Mm.
Because we own the land, we own the properties we're building there. There is the business going on. So, like, in the end of the day, like, what we can get out of it, like, say,
Mm.
profit wise, upside wise, is also like way higher than what people could ever get with dropshipping.
So did you realize those barriers? So let's talk about Reconnect just a bit. So did you realize those barriers to entry when you started, or was that something you've had to learn along the way?
It's both. I was definitely aware of some of those barriers. So I've been living in Indonesia for 3 years, and I speak Indonesian. So I definitely knew that that was a strength, and that was like a very very good thing about my journey here. So I was aware of that. Then, like some barriers about like a, a mindset that you need to have to make business here. You need to be like way more patient than what people are in Europe and USA in general. Like because the work ethic here, the way culture works and everything is very different, and you need to be very patient and resilient to manage to find your way through that.
What's the difference?
Oh, um, a lot of them. So
what's the main one? Like what made it that you needed to be patient? Is that people work less hours? Is that it's more relaxed, or is something else? Like
the way people are working in general is different. So say in Europe or USA, you would just hire a contractor, and they would have their team. They would bring the material. They would build the thing. You would pay them, and there would be some delays, and you would, complain about that. You would settle that, and it's pretty much done. Like here, I mean, especially there in this region of Indonesia, which is like a newly emerging region, finding workers who know how to work is very hard. Um, then there's like a whole religion thing, right? So depending where you are in Indonesia, it's like in Bali, there people are Hindu, most of them, right?
Yeah.
So they have a lot of ceremonies every day, and you need to do with that. Like people are not gonna work like 40 hours a week, sharp. You need to compose with the fact that people might have ceremonies or go to their family or like any kind of things that you will need to deal with. There's no other way around. In Sulawesi, like the majority of the people are Muslims. So, which means, for example, when it was Ramadan, it was almost impossible for me to get anything done there.
Yeah.
Like those things that, well, you find out on the way. Of course, you can anticipate some of them. Like most of them, you learn how to deal with them on the way, and that would discourage a lot of people from doing business there in the first place.
Did that experience change your own mindset of what the word working means?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like when I'm there, like a working day for me looks like waking up in the morning, jumping on the boats, going to these small islands, drinking a coconut, talking with workers, saying like what they're up to, what are the progresses, like, and then you can see them like taking a nap like almost anywhere on the island, when they're not working, because this is like tough work, right? Like it's like they call it heavy work. So and it's very sunny there, so it's hot and everything. So they would work like a few hours in the morning. Then when it's too hot, they would take some rest. Then they would start again. Then they would just go take a boat, go to go get some fishes. Go back, cook the fish. That's like very different mindset. Yeah.
So talk to me a bit more about Reconnect. Like, why did you come up with the idea, and sort of, what's the vision for it?
So, I had the idea of the project after I saw the island in the first place. So what happened was that I went to the islands in the beginning because a friend of mine knew the person who was selling it, and I thought it would be fun. I wasn't intending to buy it. I just thought it would be fun to, like go to a new island that, like where almost nobody's living, and to just check it out and just spend a few days in the area. Indonesia has like 17,000 islands, so like you can't possibly visit all of them in the whole lifetime. So when you can see one that is like nobody's living there and it's remote and stuff, it's always fun. So I went there, And the moment when I arrived on the beach, I remember it was like so quiet, like like real quiet. You know, it was so peaceful. You wouldn't hear like any car, motorbike, or like anything from civilization that you would hear there. And I just loved the vibe so much. So we spent a few hours there, grabbed some coconuts, you know, tried to open them, and um, I took a few pictures and videos. And then when I was on my way back on the bus, I just couldn't help thinking about it. I was like, I need to do something there. I need to do something there. It's amazing, you know? And yeah, and I mean, I kept thinking about it, and I started to have some ideas. Like, I was like, I didn't decide to buy the land at that time. I was like, what would I do there if I were to do something on this island? You know, just what if? You know, like a what if type of question. And yeah, and it all started from there. Like, I went there again like several times. You know, then I decided to buy the land. We did the transaction. I knew it would be something that needed to have some sustainability into it, because it wouldn't make any sense to build like huge concrete buildings on this beautiful island. It would make zero sense. So I started to think like, okay, if I was about to open something there, what would I, you know, like it to be? Bungalows or tents, or, you know, and I just started to shape things in my mind, and the name Reconnect came like naturally. You know, I was just in front of my laptop back in Bali, and I was like, okay, so how are we going to call this project, you know? And in the beginning, I just called it by the name of the island, like Buka Buka Sustainable Resort. And then one day I just, you know, sat in front of the laptop and I was like, oh, that's it, Reconnect. That's how I'm going to call this, you know? And from there, just, you know, started to play around with ideas, share with people. That was like a big part of it, sharing about the idea with people, you know, so I could get some insights and feedback, and they would tell me like what they would see there, or stuff like that. Um, yeah. And right now, like, the vision is to create a place um, that is definitely sustainable in this way, that the goal is to not say burn you know, fuel to have electricity with a generator, but to have it like 100% solar powered. We have a bit of water on top of the islands, but I don't want to deplete the island from its resources. So we're going to have a very small scale desalination system, but that will be enough for us for our own water consumption there. So, and it will be solar powered as well. The bungalows we're going to build will be, so it's like woods, like mostly woods. We don't use concrete for the foundation or anything. We're using the resources that we can find, and we do this thing that I'm counting every single tree that we need to cut to build the bungalows. And like next year, we're gonna just like make like the total of these trees, and we're gonna replant twice this amount of trees on the island to like give back to the island. So just kind of small things.
I love that.
And the idea was the place itself is like, so I mean, the main thing, like, what people are gonna do there, right? So you arrive on these small islands, and we will have those activities that people will expect. So you will do, you know, snorkeling and swimming around. Like, we have a coral reef around the islands. We made some like wooden small kayak boats. People can just go around the island with it by themselves. Use like paddling boats. We will do trekking. So like you can cross the island from one side to the other. You know, that would be fun. Like to do like sunrise treks. So you start like around 4 or 5 a.m. You cross the jungle, you know, and you arrive and you see the sunrise on the other side of the island, and you have breakfast there. Like this kind of things. So these are like more like water and physical activities that will be available there. And then there's the whole thing about reconnection with locals and other people. So there on the island, in this area of Indonesia, they have skills, and I want to at the same time share with locals how they can make a business out of those skills, and at the same time having visitors to the island learning new skills. To take a practical example, you know how now coconut oil is really like famous around the world for being healthy and everything. And the funny thing is very expensive in Europe and USA. When you come here, like coconut oil is just something that, they just do, like they cooking rice, they cooking fish, they make their own coconut oil every day,
Yeah.
and they have a manual and traditional way to do it. And we want to do that on the island because we have coconuts is one of the main resources we have. So
Yeah.
one of the activities would be the coconut journey. So like coconut trees are like amazing because you can do like hundreds of things with them, whereas it's the coconut itself or the wood from the tree. So we will have this workshop where people will learn and will actually do things by themselves. So either making coconut balls, like the one you see, like the smoothie bowl people like put on Instagram when they're in Bali, or making your own coconut oil, and why not bringing some back home in a small glass bottle that we recycled. So that's like the whole vision of it is like to create like synergies between what is there and what people could bring by going to the island and take back home. So when they go back home after spending a week there, they're not only going to have like these beautiful pictures of living on an island, which is cool, but you can get anywhere. But also they will have like this new like mindsets and like learning things that they will share with locals and learn things from them.
Yeah, that is so impressive.
That's
That is so impressive. I love how big your vision is, and I love the fact that you have even the balls to think of, oh, I'm actually gonna buy an island. Oh, and I'm actually gonna build something. That takes a lot of courage to do, and that's something I think listening to your story, going through from chasing money to cycling around the world, trying to discover yourself, moving to a completely different country, and just trying to build something there that's bigger than you, bigger than money, and bigger than anything else, and just trying to help all the ones, all the people around you. That is really inspiring, and that's something that I truly hope that you'll be very, very successful at. What stage is Reconnect at the moment? Can people already go on there?
So we're not taking bookings right now. We will have small groups of people experiencing so I call it the MVP of the resorts. So, well, this is not the way people build resorts in general, but I thought it would be interesting to do it by iterations and learning, by doing it. So we have the first bungalow that is done already. Now we are starting to make the glamping tents there. There's like a whole process of ordering the fabric somewhere, making the woodwork in another place, and combining this together. It's challenging and interesting. So, like I say, in August, we will be able to have small groups of people there. Already in August, like this August.
So just around the corner, yeah.
And just like it will definitely not be like complete. There will be like, I don't know, like tons of things to do. However, we will have water, electricity, and the first bungalows, which means people can come there and experience life there already. So and that's the thing I can't wait is like to have other people there and to see their reaction. Like, what do they like? What would they see differently? What are like upsides, downsides? What we can improve. And I think if we do like the whole resort and then we realize that we fucked up with a lot of things, then it's gonna be more costly, like time wise and finance wise, to redo things. But if we have the first unit and people can experience it already, first they're very happy because it's very exclusive. Like right now, if you go to the island tomorrow and you're living there, it's pretty much only you on the island, and I mean some stuff, but like it's gonna be your island, nobody's gonna be there. And like some people like this like exclusivity type of thing.
Yeah, I love that approach because you focus on the people, not only what's sort of in your head and how do you think it's gonna be, but you actually look at what other people actually want and look for. Where can people best follow you and the progress of you building this island out?
So we have the website of the project, reconnect.id. Right now, we're doing a crowdfunding campaign. So we're raising funds specifically to bring a desalination system to the island, which I believe will be one of the best thing we could do, because this water will also be given away for free to locals who are living there, like the few locals living there who are struggling with water. They need to climb there's like a small mount hill, but it's through the jungle. They have to walk for like an hour to reach the water, bring in gallons and stuff. They're really struggling with that. So we're raising funds now on Indiegogo. I'm going to send you the link of the campaign. We actually already like 41% of the goal in 5 days.
Wow.
So it's pretty cool. Yeah, like I'm really happy with that. People very supportive, and like that's the good thing. People can pre-book their stay on the island through the campaign. And right now we have like crazy rates. Like it's like we have like 80% off in some of the offers, so people can spend a weekend there for like $100 or something like that.
That's insane.
And a good way, to start having people and see, how they enjoy it, how they like it,
Yeah.
So yeah, like the website and the campaign of the project, and I'm sharing on my own website, thomasdespin.com.
Okay. Awesome, man. I bet you're excited. You're waiting for how that's actually going to turn out. As I said before, I'm really impressed with everything you're doing. The fact that you're doing it not just for yourself, but for everybody else, and helping the community and the country itself. I'll be following it very, very closely. And I'm very looking forward to having you on again and talking about all the positive feedback and all the great stories that you can share with us of the people being in the island. So best of luck with everything, man.
Thank you, Jonas. Thanks for having me.